It's the Prep Rally Podcast, the only podcast in the state dedicated to prep sports. Brought to you by the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Here's your host, Chip Souza.
And this is the Prep Rally Podcast. I'm Chip Souza, joined by Henry Apple, Rick Fires, and Leland Barclay. This will be the last podcast we'll do for a couple of weeks. We'll take a few weeks off as we get ready to settle in and get some summer stuff going on. We do have a few events going on, though, in the summer. We got the All-Star Games that'll be coming up in Conway.
Yes.
That'll be the end of June, and then we've got some football team camps that will start next week.
Yes.
The 7-on-7 schedule will start next week, and then we'll, of course, in July have the big Shiloh Christian Southwest Elite 7-on-7, and that's always to us kind of the signal that, hey, football season is just around the corner.
So we're making a big transition, aren't we?
We are. We're making the big transition.
Just time for us to recharge, refuel, and then
Take a vacation.
before you know it, it'll be here again.
Yeah.
That is correct. So, Leland, we're going to start with you down there. You made the trip down to Benton last week to assist the Democrat-Gazette with some coverage of state championship games. We had, if I got the count right, Henry, we had 10 teams from our 12-county coverage area that were competing for state championships. And in some of the state championship games, we had both teams were from our coverage area.
Yeah, it was the case of, hey, we knew one winner was going to come out of it. We just didn't know at the time which one was going to come out of it.
That's correct. So, Leland, you went down on Saturday, and let's start with you. You were down there. We're going to start, Ricky, with the 5A baseball. Van Buren going to defend its state championship and work our way backwards. So, Leland, you were there for that one, and boy, Van Buren just got in a big hole early and just couldn't dig their way back out of it.
Top of the first, they gave up 6 unearned runs and fell behind 7-0 rather quickly. I say quickly. It was not a quick inning, but they did fall behind 7-0. They came back, scored 3 in the bottom of the first, but then they gave up 4 in the top of the second.
Yeah, and that was kind of the difference there was. Yeah.
They got 2 back in the bottom of the second. Eli Gilreath hit one of the longest home runs I've ever seen a high school player hit. He hit it over the 15-foot wall in dead center, and it's
400 feet.
It might still be going. It was a shot that made it 11-5, and those first 2 innings took an hour and 15 minutes to play.
Wow.
Van Buren managed 1 more run, and the final was 11-6. Van Buren used 3 pitchers in the game. Connor Brady came in through 5 scoreless innings in relief, and tried to keep them close. Van Buren had a few chances a couple of times, left the bases loaded once, but fell to Marion, which won its first state baseball championship.
Well, that wasn't the last game, Ricky, that was played in Benton. The last game played in Benton was the Benton girls softball team, and that game actually wasn't completed until Sunday. They had a storm that swept through Benton late Friday afternoon, early evening, and it forced the Benton and Greene County Tech softball game to be moved to Sunday. They had played 5 innings, I believe. Leland, is that right? Something like that.
Yes.
And actually, Benton was behind.
The 5th inning.
Yeah, Benton was behind at the time. But they came back and won that softball game. I believe, Leland, it was 3-2, I believe was the final score of that one. And they wrapped up their second straight state championship, their second straight undefeated season.
Wow.
And the last time I saw, I don't know what poll this was, but Benton was going to be somewhere in the top, ranked in the top 5 or 6 teams in the country this year.
That's hard to do in softball and baseball. A whole year, I could see a football team, maybe in a basketball team, but a baseball team or a softball team go undefeated
Twice,
back to back. Wow.
Yeah. They ended the season, I believe, Leland, is this correct, a 64-game winning streak intact. I think that's correct. So
I think it was 63.
Or 63, something like that. 60-something games in a row.
63-game winning streak, and they were a complete team. They had 2 pitchers who were very good, so they didn't have to rely on just one.
Yep.
They hit the ball very well, but defensively they were really good.
Yeah, and they can swing that bat. Now they only scored 3 runs in the championship game, but you would expect it to be a good game.
Yes.
It was, and but Benton prevails in that one over Greene County Tech 3-2. Now let's move backward a little bit. Let's go back to the Friday game. Actually, we're going to stay on Saturday.
Okay.
Ricky, I don't know if you have seen the show Ted Lasso. Do you know anything about the series Ted Lasso?
No.
Ted Lasso was
I'm
a
still
highly
watching Beaver Cleaver reruns.
well, I don't know if I can compare anything to Leave It to Beaver, but Ted Lasso, in this fictional character, is a football coach, a highly successful football coach, who gets hired to go to coach a soccer team in England or somewhere where soccer is huge. Well, Farmington has their own Ted Lasso, and that is Coach Josh Fonville at Farmington, who is the quarterback's coach on the football team. He kind of got tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, we need you to come coach the boys' soccer team. And not only did he accept the challenge, but they won the program's first state championship, 4-3 over Clarksville.
That is an amazing story. I wasn't even paying any attention to Farmington until about halfway through the year. Then they tied Clarksville, and I said, wow, I know the quality program at Clarksville. And then I kept watching them and talking to the coach Josh, the quarterback coach who is now a state championship soccer coach, and they just kept getting better. They got some athletes from the basketball team. Our man Mateo Carbonell, man, love to watch that kid. That scrap in basketball. He gets every loose rebound, takes every charge. Caleb Blakely.
Yep.
But apparently those kids are also excellent soccer players.
And I believe Justin Logue also was a wide receiver on the football team. Was also a big-time player for their soccer program.
And this is only their third year, and one of them was wiped out by COVID. So that is a heck of a story right there. And congratulations to them to get that soccer program going over there. And, man, just a great outcome for Farmington Cardinals.
Absolutely. So we're going to stay in soccer where – how about, Henry, the Bentonville West Lady Wolverines? They got it done. They've been close. They've been close. They played Fayetteville, the defending state champions, in the 6A girls state soccer match, and Bentonville West gets its first state championship.
Last year, the Lady Wolverines knocked on the door.
I think we got a Bum Phillips thing going here.
Yeah. This year, they knocked the door down.
They kicked it in. They kicked it in.
Hey, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, you know what? And people think about how amazing this story is. Kerry, what's his last name?
Castillo.
Yeah, Castillo. 2 years ago, he was almost. I'm not gonna. Not
oh,
on
Rick,
death
yeah,
bed.
he was
on
yeah.
death. He was in the hospital for 10 days,
and not just with
COVID.
It was life and death there, touch and go for sure.
Okay, that's right. Because I remember, I don't like breaking that up, but he told me himself he didn't think he'd ever see kids again get out of that.
Got emotional about it.
Yes, he got emotional about it. And, he got just before the season, maybe a couple games after the season, he got back on the sideline, gradually got better and better. That team got better and better, came together. They got to the championship game and then got beat 3-0 by Fayetteville. Turn around to the next year. They opened up conference play by beating Fayetteville. First time they beat them in 5, 6, 7 times. And then Fayetteville got them again. And then we had the rematch. Fayetteville just excellent, defending state champion. But, man, Bentonville West, 2-1.
2-1.
Tiana Jones, just a great player, and they got other great players. But for Kerry Castillo, what a great story behind that championship.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the things I spoke to Kerry leading to the state championship game and had a visit with him, and he said, last year he admitted the girls' first time experiencing a state championship game. They got caught in the limelight a little bit.
Big stage.
Those are moments when butterflies start growing up to be the size of crows.
Yeah.
So, and so he said, but the second time around, a little bit different. And he said what really helped this year compared to last year, the state tournament preliminary games were all up here in Northwest Arkansas. So they didn't have, basically it was like playing a conference game for Bentonville West. They go play the match, then go home, go crash in their beds and all that and wait for the next day. This time it was down in, I think, Conway. The girls were playing
Conway and Cabot. I don't remember the girls was playing.
Girls was Conway.
Okay.
So they had to go travel. they couldn't go back home. They stayed in a motel room. They got used to it.
Kind of bonding.
And then 3 days of getting used to being over there in Conway and being together. Then the state championship game is in Benton. Well, they've got the travel out of the way.
Got it down.
That's not the butterflies are a lot smaller to deal with there. And he basically told me, he said this championship match was going to be determined by who was going to impose its will on the other team.
Yeah.
And I guess we found out who imposed the will.
Well, that's a good point, because travel's a lot different. You got young kids and hey, you got to eat at a certain time. We want you in bed at a certain time. Maybe the first time they don't do it, and then they get used to it. So, man, we better be in bed at 10. We better be up for breakfast. We better be ready to go and play ball. So good for them.
Rick, these teams, the baseball teams, it's really the only ones who do this. A lot of these baseball teams travel on a spring break trip for the baseball season.
Florida, Arizona.
Go to Florida, Arizona. Yeah. Maybe go to to Tennessee. Whatever. It doesn't have to be those sunshine states or whatever. But they do that. A couple of different reasons. One, it's good competition, and they're playing. And you don't want to take a week off, if you can help it. But more than anything else is it creates a kind of a bonding thing. If you got kids who know how to act when they go get on a bus, and Leland, we're not going to get into all that, but anyway, we know there's kids who don't know how to act.
Yeah.
So anyway, it creates a bonding. Take a look at Bentonville Baseball. They took a long road trip. Henry, they won every game on their road trip, won a spring break trip, and won all their games. Came back, scuffled a little bit in conference play, and barely got in. Had to go to the final game of the season to get in. But I think what the chemistry they built up on that road trip and them being together like that for 4, 5, 6 days paid big dividends for Bentonville, and Bentonville capitalizes on it. They got that opportunity, and when they got in state tournament play, it was a lot like their spring break trip when they won 5 or 6 in a row, and they utilized that, Ricky, and they kind of came, in some people's mind, out of nowhere. But I guarantee you that Todd Abbott said, you know what, we've done this. We've done this, and we've been successful at it. And they went back to what they did on the road trip, and they were able to make it to a state championship game after barely getting into the state tournament to begin with.
Hey, that's where you find out who your leaders are, who's the kids that
100%,
gonna go over there and hey man, let's go sneak out, let's go.
Yeah.
And then one of the seniors, somebody said, no, we're not doing that.
Right.
I mean, because coaches can't be with you 24 hours a day.
100%, Ricky. 100%, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
I was one of them stragglers, and I remember one of our seniors getting on to me.
Yeah, there you go. Get you in line. Keep you in line.
Get you in line.
And Henry and Leland, you guys have been around this a long time, and we have been. The best teams, the championship teams are player-led teams.
Absolutely.
It's not coach. Players tune out coaches a lot, but if you have a coach, and I'm gonna give you a prime example, Kent Early. He puts this on his softball players from the time they're a freshman.
Yep.
There are expectations in this program. There's a level of expectation, and this is not for everybody. Okay,
Yep.
But the players at Bentonville, tell you what. You see, you want to know who the hardest working player on the Bentonville girls softball team is? It's Casey Wood. The best player on that team is?
Casey Wood.
It's Casey Wood.
Yeah.
And when your best players are the hardest working players,
Yeah.
a coach can sit back and say, you know what? I'm going to let the players kind of run this, and those are the best teams.
Absolutely.
Those are the best teams. So,
I remember when a coach, with Coach Van Horn, and we do these I did it for 15 years at Arkansas Baseball. Well, what team you going to have this year? Who's going to be? Ask me when we get back from Arizona.
Yeah.
Ask me when we get back from playing on the Pacific Coast.
Yeah.
Ask me when we get back from playing down in Houston, Texas.
Right.
Then he could tell you.
Right. Then he could tell you what kind of players are going to lead the team.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to. So congratulations there to Bentonville West. The Fort Smith Northside boys made it to the championship game. They in 6A boys soccer, they lost to Conway 3-1. But what a great season Northside had. Van Buren boys also made it to the 5A state championship game, and they were blanked by Russellville 4-0. I think Leland, Russellville, and Van Buren boys soccer team played each other 27 times this year, I think. Have we still got Leland down there? Is he there?
They played each other in the
There you go.
championship game last year.
Yep.
Then this year they played twice during the regular season. Russellville won once 2-1, and then they tied 3-3. But Van Buren was ahead 3-0 in that game. In the second half, Russellville scored 3 goals and tied it up. So it was a very evenly matched game going into it. In fact, I think in the 3-3 game, or it might have been the 2-1 loss, Van Buren actually had more shots on goals. So it was I think a pretty evenly matched game going into it. Now, Russellville, of course, they were bound and determined to shut down Pedro Rodriguez.
Yes. Yeah.
And they were able to do it. They won it 4-0, had some saves. They scored 3 goals very early, and that was kind of the difference in that game.
In basketball, you play a boxing one. I don't know, Henry, what do you do in soccer? You play a...
Hey, watch that guy.
Yeah.
Don't let 9 get loose.
I remember when we had up here, the great players that Bentonville's girls had, like Mackenzie Dixon and Taylor Estrada.
Right.
It was very common for them to be shadowed by 2 and sometimes 3 players.
We're going to build a house around you.
And say, hey, you go let somebody else beat us this year. And the problem is they'd find ways to do it.
They'd find ways to do it. So that was also, want to mention, too, the Siloam Springs girls. What a great match this was. They fell to Searcy 1-0 or 1-0.
1-0.
Ricky, there you go. Yep. See, I got a little vernacular
right,
there.
We've been bringing you along very slowly.
That's how I have to be brought along, very slowly. And so we had that. And then we move over to Thursday when the state championship games got underway in Benton. And Leland, before I talk about softball and things like that, Bentonville softball, give me your opinion on the Benton complex over there. Tell me, because I have heard a lot of great things about it.
It would not break my heart at all if they had the championship games there every season.
Every season.
There's a catwalk. There's a catwalk between the baseball and softball fields, so you can easily go back and forth there. And, of course, the football stadium, which is where soccer's played, is also very close. But everything's completely turf, plenty of seating, lots of room. It's top-notch, just like the Majestic Park in Hot Springs. They could hold the 5A every year, and that wouldn't break my heart either.
Right. So great job.
That's a big plus when you got everything, because sometimes you get these tournaments, it's on one side of town and it's at the other school.
Right.
We saw some of that in baseball with Springdale Harbor. To have everything right there, that's spectacular.
Correct. So great job there. Of course, Benton, the central part of the state. You stay in Little Rock and Benton. Everybody can get there. Easy travel. It's just a great place. And I know, when my boys were in school, the big thing was we want to play at Baum Stadium. We'll play at Baum Stadium, and that's all really cool. I mean, you can't, and I'm sure the girls softball, we want to play at Bogle Park, and that kind of thing. But Leland, I'm with you on that. The central part of the state, it's easy for people to get to. I'd have no problem with being at Benton for the next 5 years, just like the basketball being in Hot Springs, easy to get to, central part of the state, beautiful facility, well run, and that's what you want to see. You want this to be a great experience for the kids because that's what it's all about, and it looks like they do a really good job of putting this on. So great job there. Now, let's talk about softball.
And I think, too, at Benton –
go ahead, Leland.
I think, too, at Benton, they really embrace hosting it. And, we've been places, too, before where that may not always be the case either.
Right.
So that certainly helps, too, that they like hosting that event.
And that to me goes a long way.
No, that's a big plus because, again, with SEC baseball, they talk, why does Arkansas always have to go down to Hoover? How come they can't move it around? Because Hoover embraces it.
Yes.
They set them kids up in the big fancy hotel, treat them like kings, and then it's kind of everybody. A lot of teams are in that area: Georgia, everybody, Alabama, Auburn. So there's nothing wrong with that, especially when you embrace it, you want it, and that just makes it all that more special for the kids.
Exactly. So let's talk a little 6A softball, Henry.
Yes.
I don't know how much, if you had a chance to see Bentonville play this year or not. Softball's kind of my thing. For those who don't pick up on this or maybe listen to the show a lot, we take our spring sports and we divide it up. And Henry is the chairman of baseball and track. Ricky is the grand poobah of girls and boys soccer, and I'm the little peon of softball. They throw me that, but you know what? That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want the softball, and I'll tell you why, because the games are really fast. They're good teams, the games. But y'all didn't hear that. Y'all didn't hear that. But Bentonville softball. So today we had our luncheon, the Hogs Illustrated Sports Club luncheon, and we recognized the Bentonville girls softball program for being the program of the week. So, Ricky, the last 6 years in a row, Bentonville girls have played for a state championship in softball.
Yes.
6 straight years. 5 of those years they've won the state championship, and the 1 year they didn't, they lost 5-3 to Cabot, in a close game. Kent Early, we've talked about this. He's one of the Early brothers. Preston, the girls basketball coach at Rogers. Brian, who's a college football coach at the University of Houston. And Kent, who is not only the girls softball coach at Bentonville, but also the boys golf coach.
Yep.
He's got more rings than Liz Taylor, Ricky.
Oh! I thought you were going to say Saturn.
I've been sitting on that one for a while.
Oh, I know. You finally, for 3 months, finally got to use
finally
it.
got a chance to use it. But anyway, we've talked about this. I mentioned this today at the sports club meeting, and we mentioned this just a while ago, that Bentonville, when the girls get in that program as a freshman or sophomore or whatever it is when they come in, they are told there's an expectation, there's a level of that we expect. There's a blueprint for success. If you follow this blueprint, you will be successful. You do well in the classroom. You do what you're supposed to do. You don't get in trouble or whatever. There's a real good chance that you're going to end your year every year with a chance to win a ring. Mm-hmm. How many programs can offer that? Not a lot.
No.
So they do. They have a success. Now, Kent Early, and he and I've talked about this, Henry. I know he's talked about this with you. He follows the blueprint set by who, Henry?
Alvy Early.
There you go, his daddy. So, and I've asked Kent, I said, Kent, how much of your dad are you? And he said, a lot. Well, of course, why would you not? He sat on a bucket at his dad's games for many, many, many games and saw.
And this was down at Monticello.
Yes, and saw how it should be done.
Yep.
And Kent, smart man, says, if it worked here for my dad, it will work here for us. And he has followed that blueprint, so much so that the Bentonville girls oftentimes wear a white jersey that say A Early on the back of every one of them, okay?
Wow.
As a tribute to his dad, because Kent is who he is because of Alvy Early.
And Alvy was such a great guy.
Yes.
I got to meet him on several occasions, both at Monticello and then when he'd come up, they always have this college softball tournament at Bentonville early in the season, and he practically ran it.
Yeah.
So he would be up here. So, he was such a great guy, and now, Kent is carrying on that legacy.
Yes. Exactly.
It tells you how much their father had influence. All 3 boys and coaches and educators.
Right. Now, I don't know, what children that, Kent or Preston or Brian or whatever, I don't know, how many little Earlys there are running around. I have no idea. But Dre Greenlaw is adopted by Brian Early, and you can sure bet, and we hope he has another, 4 or 5 years of NFL that he can play. But the influence that Brian had on him, Dre is going to follow that same path. He's going to follow that same path, and you're not hearing about him in the NFL and San Francisco doing things you're not supposed to do or whatever. He's following that blueprint that was laid for him. So congratulations to Bentonville Lady Tigers for winning their state championship. Bentonville Baseball. You know what, Henry? Nothing to be ashamed of there. They won 20 games, right at it. 20 games, 23 games. Made it to the state championship. I think it's a testament to the 6A West how good this baseball conference was in Leland. We've talked about this. There was the 2 teams that didn't make the state tournament were still good teams. They were still good teams. Fayetteville and Springdale were still very good teams.
Yeah.
And the 6 who made it had to battle to get in. And, Bentonville made it all the way to the championship game. They fell to Conway in that one, 10-7. They had some chances there to win that game.
It was a case where Conway just jumped out to a 4-0 lead, and Bentonville never recovered. Almost did.
Yeah.
They got it within 4-3. Then the next thing you know, Conway was up 9-3. Well, Bentonville didn't lay down. It come right back, made it to a 9-7 game, and then Conway added the extra run and final score 10-7.
Right. So great season for Todd Abbott. He does a great job over there. And Leland, I hate to see this school year end. We've had a lot of really good stories this school year.
All season in every sport.
Yeah.
It's been a very, very enjoyable year to watch all the teams play, and I think that it just flew by.
Yeah, it did. Ricky, let's go back to that late November. You and I are down the sideline at Harmon Stadium.
What are we doing, eating a chili dog?
No, we're watching Fayetteville and Conway in one of the best football games that I have ever seen.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And they bring a kicker in who hadn't kicked all year long or whatever, and he comes in. Second string kicker, and he drills a game winner there. For Fayetteville. We said all year long how much better they were going to be this year, and they were. Started there, and I'm like, man, how do you top that? How do you get better than that? And basketball season rolled in, and we had some great stories in basketball. Just some terrific teams, some terrific games, teams playing for state championships, that kind of thing, and rolled right into spring sports. And just what a great school year this has been in every sport.
In our newspaper in December, we do like the top high school sports stories of the year, and we got to remember that's got to be right up there when we put this thing together in December. And this Bentonville West, I'm just intrigued by this. Kerry Castillo, almost on his deathbed 2 years ago, gets his team to the championship. They come back, face the same team, and win that game. Yeah. So that's got to be in our top 10, 5-3, something like that.
It's a great story. The Farmington coach, who wasn't the soccer coach, tapped on the shoulder and says, hey, I need you to take over the soccer program, wins a state championship.
First year as a coach.
Another interesting story, I'm sitting here and I was trying to review it here on my phone, was the Harrison Goblin baseball team.
Yeah, and I didn't mention them, but you're right, Henry, I'd forgotten about that. That's right.
Who, they finished the regular season, they had to go into their conference tournament as the number 4 seed.
Correct. Because that's a very good 4A1, very good baseball conference.
A very good baseball conference. Then they worked their way through conference tournament, made it to the regional. Went to the regional, won the regional with a wild 17-11 game against Huntsville. Yeah. Go to the state tournament, and then I start looking here at the stats on their championship game against Valley View. Valley View jumps out to a 5-0 lead in the top of the second inning, and you're thinking, oh, great, here we go.
Now, Harrison went 5 runs. But so what?
Yeah, as we have learned, momentum is a fickle lady.
Yes, she is.
And she can change dance partners in a heartbeat. Yeah. The next thing you know, Harrison has scored 9 unanswered runs, and they're leading 9-7 or 9-5 going into the 7th inning. You're thinking, okay, they've got some breathing room. Not so fast.
Nope.
Valley View scores 4 runs in the 7th inning to tie it at 9. And this game's supposed to be ending in 7 innings. Nope. We're going to go a 7th inning. We're going to go an 8th inning, a 9th, into the 10th inning when Harrison. So Sloan Barrett hits a triple to center field. He's on third, nobody out. Well, Valley View's got to play the percentages. They walk Dylan Block, which he's a 530 hitter. You don't want to pay. Right. Okay, we're going to walk the second guy.
Force at every base.
Yeah, and even they moved in an infielder to have 5 infielders. Any ball hitting the infield, well, maybe they can be fielded and throw home.
Right.
It's up to Cy Madden, and he belts a sacrifice fly into the outfield. Game over. 10-9
what
in 10
innings. Tremendous game.
Tremendous job there, and what a great job that Matt Rodden has done over at Harrison in his 3rd year. Wins a state championship, and they got some kids going to go play at the next level. I know 2 or 3 going to the next level, and they got a couple more who are underclassmen that'll probably have that same opportunity. So great job there by Coach Rodden at Harrison, winning the state championship. Softball team also did really well. Kind of came from out of nowhere. When you think of the 4A1, the first 2 teams you usually think of are actually the first 3 if you follow softball in the 4A1. Farmington, Gravette, Pea Ridge. That's the first 3 you normally think of, and Harrison's kind of an afterthought. And what a terrific season they did there at Harrison in their softball program. Ricky or Leland, whoever want to jump in on this, I cannot wait. Actually, I can wait. I can wait a couple of weeks because I want to kind of catch my breath about this. But the 5A West, I'm so looking forward to the 5A West football this coming year. And I know the 6A West bigger, go whatever. But I'm so looking forward to Farmington and Shiloh Christian and Prairie Grove and Harrison all being in the same conference.
And Pea Ridge, too.
Well, Pea Ridge and Alma. Yeah. So I'm looking very forward to that. That'll be, that should be a great conference. And a lot of almost exclusively our teams, almost exclusively.
Go ahead, Lee.
I want to go back to that Harrison baseball game for a second. That game took 3.5 hours to play, and there were almost 350 pitches thrown in that game.
But that's what makes high school sports great. It's an opportunity for kids to step up and not just high school sports, but any sports. Ricky, I've been covering the UA women's softball since our guy Paul Boyd's been on the injured reserve list a little bit, and last Sunday afternoon in a 4-3 game, they had just scored a run to take the lead against Oregon, but it was just a one-run precarious lead. Had bases loaded. The number 9 hole hitter coming up, and the Arkansas coach Courtney Deifel looked in the dugout and said, "I want a pinch hitter," and she brings in Riley Hedgecock, who had a total of 41 at bats all year long. She had 8 strikeouts and 9 RBIs, so as many strikeouts as she did RBIs. She gets up, works a full count, and then bangs a double, 3-run double to center field. That's what sports are all about. That's what it's all about. Kids stepping up, getting an opportunity, and doing it.
And then later on, KB Sides gets that 2-run homer, and the sprint she took around. Lance Harder needs to look at her for if she's got any eligibility left on as a member of the track team, because she didn't waltz around that.
No.
She flew around those
around the bases. Yeah. So
what's that Eminem? I'm more of an Elvis guy in Journey, but Eminem living up to the moment. Man, that's incredible. A kid like that, I don't know. And the coach believed in her, didn't she?
Believed in her, yeah. And
good for her.
And
both of them.
That's what sports are all about, and that's why, Ricky, you have said this more than one time. The best reality show is sports.
Absolutely.
It's the best reality show. So, Leland, what other kinds of words of wisdom are you going to impart on us before we take a couple of weeks off here?
Well, and you go back and you talk about the pinch hitting decision there, and I'm tired of I get kind of tired of all the metrics and all the percentages and all that. That had nothing to do with the metrics. That was a coach with a gut feeling. Making a decision, and look how it paid off. And that's a coach that knows her team as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, the American Legion schedule is out for Kerwin's, and I sent that to you. So that's ongoing.
Yep.
The big Catcher tournament is next weekend, not this coming one, but the next weekend in Fort Smith. And then we've got a lot of scrimmage games also Thursday night. I know Greenwood, Northside, Southside, Van Buren, all are scrimmaging on Thursday night, and then team camps start next week. 7-on-7 start next week. So it's not much of a breather.
No, it is not. Then we mentioned All-Star games down in Conway will be coming out. Leland, what'd you say, the 24th and 25th of June? That's Friday and Saturday. I believe that's right on the calendar.
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
Yep, that's baseball, softball, soccer, and volleyball on Friday night, starting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's kind of staggered a little bit. And then Saturday, beginning at 1 o'clock, is the basketball doubleheader, girls and boys game, and then the football game begins at 6 o'clock.
So that's it. We've got a couple of weeks here where you can kind of get a little bit of a breather, but not much.
Not much,
because it's pretty much year round, and we're thankful for it.
Yeah, and people up here in Northwest Arkansas, we got something called the Perfect Timing Baseball League up there at Tyson Park. These are for kids who are in college or high school kids who are going to college. It's quality baseball there. They play 4 nights a week, I think, beginning June 6th for about 5 weeks. So if you enjoy baseball, you enjoy watching some of these kids, get out there and watch some of those games. Monday through Thursday, 5:30 and 7:30 games.
Absolutely.
And it's free.
And sometimes you'll see a Razorback on one of these rosters or whatever, the ones who want to stay here in Fayetteville and work on their game, maybe taking some summer classes, whatever they need to do. When their season ends, you may end up seeing a couple of years ago, Ricky, there were a lot of Razorbacks playing.
Yeah, that's when everything was about shut down.
Yeah.
They couldn't go play their Cape Cod League and all that. And I think it was 2 years ago, Jordan Wicks from Kansas State.
Yes.
From Conway.
Yes.
#1 draft choice. He played up here in the Perfect Timing League.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that.
Go out there. You can take your lawn chair, sit out there at Tyson Park and here at Springdale and watch you a little baseball and support these kids.
Absolutely.
Support these kids. Henry, what you got?
I'm just ready for a breather.
I hear you.
Yeah, I can see that.
We today at the Sports Club luncheon, we also honored Keziah Bemis. She was the heptathlon champion from Fayetteville. Henry, what a great story you wrote on her. She's a young lady who had been wanting to do the heptathlon, Ricky, for several years. She'd been wanting to do the heptathlon. 2020, she got wiped out like everybody did for COVID her sophomore year. Last year, she was injured, didn't get a chance to compete. This year, she came back and she won the state's heptathlon championship. Scored 44-something to win it, and she nailed it down in her specialty, which was the 800. She won. That's what locked it down for her. Scored, I think, maybe 400 of her, or maybe 700 of her 4,400 points in that event.
Going into that event, of course, the decathlon and heptathlon is a little bit different because everybody does their things in flights.
Right.
You'll have your flight that does this and then does this. So Kinley Hall had already done her stuff, and I'm sitting there computing. I said, okay, how many points does Keziah need to win this? And then how does this translate into what she's got to run as far as the 800? And I got to figuring out, and she's going to have to run like a 250. And I said, now it's a case of, do you want to go tell her that?
Yeah.
Or do you say, nope, you sit back and just let the story present itself?
Yeah.
She took off in that 800. The first 200
And that's
meters,
a hard race, Henry. The 800 is a hard. You don't know. Do you take off fast? Do you pace? The 800, man, that's a tough race.
It's a distance race.
Yeah.
She took off in the first 200, and she had a considerable lead. Then she kind of rested for the next 400 meters, and it actually allowed a run to kind of pass her a little bit. But the final 200 meters, she kicked it in, finished it in like 2:25, so she wins it with room to spare. And in that same moment, Hannah Estes, her teammate, also needed a very similar time to finish second, but fell short.
They finished 1 and 3, right?
Yeah, and she finished hers in 2:53. And I remember she said, "Good God, this is hard."
Yeah. Well, I was at the luncheon today, Ricky, and Keziah is a little bitty thing. She didn't eat 4 pieces of dessert like I did. She So congratulations to her and all the athletes from across our region who had outstanding seasons, whether it was in wrestling, bowling, swimming, diving, whatever it was that they competed in. We congratulate them. Ricky, we're slowly getting back to normal. Things are looking better, and these kids are getting a chance to live out their dreams. My heart still goes out to those kids from 2020, but we can't go back and get it back for them.
And the thing, when I first started off, I said, man, I want to cover professional sports. And then, man, I've soured on college football with all the NIL mess. And then professional athletes, sometimes you get these prima donnas. But to me, the high school level, the small schools, going to a small town like Prairie Grove, you seeing them Tiger footprint go up to the stadium, and you see these kids start, in August and July, even basketball camps, and then go through the whole year and finish up with exciting championship games. And it just, I'm just walking on sunshine right now, enjoying it, and I'm feeling blessed and privileged to be able to do this.
I told somebody today at the lunch, and I was talking with Scott Kane. He was a Razorback beat reporter for a while, excellent reporter, and very well liked. He got his start covering high school athletics and high school sports in Texas, like I did. And I said, I'm 60 years old. I covered my first game in 1980. That was a year or two ago. And I still get excited. I still get excited to get my clipboard ready to go on Friday night, to get my laptop packed up and get to a stadium because high school sports are the most pure form of athletics that there is. Ricky, I can pick up the phone and I can call Kent early and say, Kent, I want to come out and do a story on Casey Wood, and he says,
you don't have to go through SID people and then set something up?
He texts me back and says, what time works for you? 2:30? What time? I call Casey Dick. Casey, I want to come out and do a story on Isaiah Satania. Sure. What time? What time you think? Whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, I can call Brent Hobbs. Say, Brent, I want to come up and talk to you and Brooks about your days as Springdale Red Bulldog. Come on up, man. We're just sitting around, whatever. And that's what high school. That's why I love covering high school sports. And there's always great stories. There's kids who've overcome things that you cannot even imagine just to get a chance to play. Some of them working full-time jobs.
Or somebody like Dre.
Or somebody like Dre, who's that kind of thing. Or the running back over at Bentonville, Henry, who I can't recall his name now, but the backup running back that they had.
Last name was Collier Surley.
Collier Surley, that's right. Another one who's had to overcome adversity that few people know about and done it, and nobody has a bigger smile on Friday nights than this kid, and that's what it's all about. And so that's what we do here at the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette is we bring you those kinds of stories. We bring it to you in print. We bring it to you on our podcast. We bring it to you in our weekly videos. And we will always bring it to you. And if you're not a member of our team, you can be. Call our circulation department. They'll get you an iPad set up just like I've got set up here, and you can get up first thing in the morning. It's so simple, even a Ricky Fires can do it. And he hits the little button there, and the newspaper pops up, and he can read about all these kids.
And like at 4 or 5 in the morning, too.
Exactly. So that will be our last podcast for a couple of weeks. We'll take a couple of weeks off, and then we'll be back, and we'll talk about the next wave of athletes coming through. And cannot wait for those. So I am going to sign us off today. I'm Chip Souza for Leland Barclay, Ricky Fires, and Henry Apple. We appreciate you being with us every week. We'll be out for a couple of weeks, but we'll be back here in a couple weeks. Come back and join us.
The Prep Rally Podcast is produced and directed by the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Find us on SoundCloud, Apple, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher.